been to a conductor event thus far? Good. Who has heard of Startup Grind? Cool. All right, so I'll tell you a little bit about Startup Grind, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. This is really, really informal by design. So Startup Grind is an international program powered by Google for Entrepreneurs. So this happens in over 200 cities around the world every single month. And every month we have a fireside chat with local influencers like Jeff Standridge, who shares their story with people in a really casual fireside chat. So you're not even allowed to have a PowerPoint. You're supposed to make friends, help people, show people what resources are in our community, etc. So we have been having these in Little Rock, and we're really, really excited about having it in Conway, reaching more Central Arkansas, different people in Central Arkansas. Who drove here from outside of Conway today? Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming. It means a lot to us. And definitely if you have questions about Startup Grind, ask us after. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm here with Jeff Standridge, who recently retired from Axiom after 18 years, and he's now the leader of the conductor. And I'm going to go ahead and just let you kick it off and tell us about yourself.
All right. As Kim said, thank you for coming. I am, as she said, I was with Axiom for about 18 and a half years. Worked internationally for about 10 of those. Started companies in Poland and China. Acquired and operated companies in the Middle East, North Africa, Brazil, Latin America. The last 4.5 years, 4 years or so, I've been leading the North American sales team, focused on providing data, analytics, and consulting to small, medium businesses, really bringing Axiom's capabilities that, for the most part, have been served to Fortune 100 companies, bringing them down to the small, medium business, which is really where I've cultivated my passion for the startups and the mid, what I would consider the small, medium businesses or the mid-market.
Cool. So tell me more about your education, what you thought you were going to do with the rest of your life in college.
What I thought I was going to do, well, first of all, I crammed a 4-year degree into 5.5 years. I came to UCA on music scholarship and thought I was going to be, well, let me back up. So when I left Glenwood, Arkansas, Glenwood is a town about 2 hours south of here, the other side of Hot Springs. I graduated with 28 people. And I have a second cousin, my mom's first cousin, who had an 11th grade education, and he owned the bank in Glenwood. He had bought it because of the company that he had exited. And when I left to come to school, he looked at me and he said, "Jeffrey, I want you to go over to that college and get you a finance degree, and then when you come back, I'll teach you how to be a banker." So I came to UCA, didn't declare a major my first semester of my freshman year, but I took modern political economics, and I made the very first D I had ever seen on a formal semester in report card ever. And so I decided that being a banker or a finance major was probably not for me. So I declared a major, I was on a music scholarship, declared a music major, thought I was going to be a band director, wanted to teach high school a couple of years, then I wanted to get a master's in performance and teach at the collegiate level. And then I got in a course called Freshman Theory, which freshman music theory is where they determine that if you're a good musician, you're a good musician either because you work hard or because you're talented. And I found out I was a good musician because I worked hard, not because I was particularly talented. So career number 2, gone. And I started working full-time as an EMT at Conway Regional Hospital. This was before MIMS. And I worked my way through college, worked full-time at the hospital, working on ambulance. And so I thought that I was going to be in the medical field my entire career.
So explain your path to the medical field and then how you exited that.
Yep. So I decided to go to respiratory therapy school at UAMS because I wanted to be on the helicopter team at Arkansas Children's Hospital. That's what I wanted to do. The day I enrolled in respiratory therapy school, I went to the director of the department and said, "When I graduate, I'm going to come fly on your helicopter. So if you want to hire me now, you can get me trained up." And she declined, but ultimately offered me a job about halfway through my respiratory therapy program. And by the time I was 2 months from graduating, I was on the helicopter team training. And did that for the next 3 years where I met my wife. She was a flight nurse. And then when our first baby was born, who's now 24, she was premature, ironically. So I taught at UAMS for 6 years in the cardiopulmonary program and decided at that point that my career was back to academics and just not in medicine, not in music, but in healthcare. And so I chose to get a doctorate in higher education with an emphasis in leadership development. And so that's kind of how I got where I am educationally speaking.
Mm-hmm. So can you talk about your pivots in your career and kind of your life? So why did you make the decision to get out of healthcare, and how did you know that was the right decision?
There have been several pivots. I've explained several of those, right? Academic pivots, educational background pivots, job pivots. I thought I was going to retire as a professor at UAMS. I was about 6 months from tenure review or so, and I was studying the differences between top 1% performers and middle 50% performers. What is it that differentiates those who are the cream of the crop from those who carry the mail every single day, that will never get fired for losing their jobs, but they're just average performers? When we have throngs of them in the workforce, what differentiates them? How can you quantify that? How can you measure that? How can you assess that, observe that, pay people for that, select people for that, develop people for that, etc. And through a conversation with a gentleman at church, he asked me what I was doing my dissertation on, and that was my research. And 2 days later, I was interviewing with Axiom. They were wanting to replicate that research in the IT world. And 3 days after that, they offered me a job. I turned them down, but I agreed to consult with them for about a semester. And at the end of the semester, I left really the only real career I had known, which was healthcare or academic healthcare, and got into the real business world. But it was to put my passion at that time to work.
Mm-hmm. So can you talk about that, your leadership passion? What does leadership mean to you? Why is it important?
So I have, so my doctorate is in leadership development, and that's where I really got my bug for helping people in the work world, was through leadership. And Axiom gave me the opportunity to not only put my academic passion to work by researching those qualities, but I also had to lead people. And so that's where you really learn how to lead people, is when you're leading people. You can talk about it all the time. But I have crafted a definition of leadership that I keep on my wall in my office, or I did. It will be on my new office whenever I have one. That wouldn't do it.
I'm sitting glad.
And the definition that I have, that I've borrowed, begged, edited, stolen, I mean, I've kind of paraphrased from multiple sources. It says that leadership is critical to business and personal success. In its simplest of terms, it's defined as the willingness to be held accountable for results, and then to deliver on that responsibility no matter what the external situation, circumstances, or pressure. Period. That is leadership.
Yeah.
Okay. However, I'm sorry.
I would like to do that again.
Okay.
Can you make a frame for everybody?
I could tweet it, but I'm not on Twitter. Leadership is the most important requirement for business and personal success. In its simplest of terms, it's defined as the willingness to be held accountable for results, and then to deliver on that responsibility no matter what the external situation, circumstances, or pressure. Period. Now, that being said, I'm a results guy, obviously. I like to say I'm going to do something and then do it. And I don't like to just do what I say I'm going to do. I like to do 3 steps beyond that. But the real world of leadership has also taught me, and my research taught me that as well. If you were to summarize all the research that I did, it taught me that leadership really boils down to a very delicate balance. And I even have a set of scales in my office, we're used to, and we'll get one day. And those sets of scales I use to remind me that real success, leadership, boils down to how well one balances results and relationships. Results, it's a tightrope. It's a balance thing. If I focus on results at the expense of relationships, I will be wildly successful very, very quickly, lightning speed, until I alienate everyone around me who's responsible for helping me maintain those results, and then I lose them both. If I focus on relationships at the expense of results, people will love me. They will say great things about me. They will want to hang around with me. I will be very popular until I lose the respect because I can't deliver the results that I said I'm going to deliver, and then I lose them both. And it's a constant tightrope. And all of us, in my experience, have a tendency one way or the other. And it's how well we recognize that our tendency leans one way and how well we balance that differentiates what we're stuck from.
So this is something that you personally have inputted in your own life as you balance this?
If Lori were not here, I would say absolutely.
I mean, can you talk about applying that in real life, like your own experience with
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Great question. So it's nobody perfects it. I mean, there are people who are better at it than others. But yeah, I mean, if you would have asked me to put a team of folks together to solve a problem before I became aware of that in the hospital, if they would have asked me when I was 28 years old and in the hospital to go put a team of folks together to go solve the problem, I would have put a team of folks together that were just like Jeff Standridge. And we would have solved the problem very, very quickly. But there would have been a trail of dead bodies behind us. It's just ironic that I used the hospital example. But there would have been a trail of dead bodies behind us because we would have scorched the earth as we solved that problem. And we would have created 3 other problems, relationally speaking, because we did that. People who've worked with me, and they're in the room, know that I'm a results guy. I love to have fun and I love relationships, but in the heat of battle, I like to get things done. And I have had to surround myself with people who would tell me when I had crossed the line or damaged a relationship and what have you. And I have a lady that worked for me at the hospital, at Axiom for 10 years. And I still tell people to this day, she's the reason I probably didn't get fired the first 5 years I was there. Because she would come into my office. We had a relationship, a designed relationship where she would come in and sit down and she would go, and I'd say, you know, I'll be over here with my back to her typing, and I would say, what's wrong, Brent? And she would say, well, can we talk? And I would say, yeah, absolutely. And she'd say, well, you know, when you said this, yeah, I know when I said that. She said, well, this is what people heard. And I would go, ooh, that's not what I did. And so she helped to hold me accountable and helped me hone the reality that was a struggle for me sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So why does this matter for entrepreneurship? Why does leadership matter?
Because leadership is a lot easier when the pressure's not on. As long as things are going well, as long as the numbers are coming in, the revenue's flowing, the expenses are low, customers are buying, people are doing what they need to do, leadership's easy. But it's when people don't do what you expect, it's when the customers don't do what you expect, it's when crisis ensues that a real definition of leadership boils to the surface. And going back to no matter what the situation, circumstances, or pressure, even if those circumstances are your relationship failings.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so can you talk a little bit about Big Capital?
Okay.
What was the impetus behind that, and how did you start it?
Sure. In 2013, I had the privilege of serving as chair of the Conway Chamber of Commerce, and we started a group, kind of a loosely held committee called Startup Conway Steering Team. There may be some folks in the room that were part of that. When we started just exploring, you know, Conway has a unique set of assets. We are happily part of the Little Rock, North Little Rock MSA, but we have a unique set of assets that are different than Cabot or Benton or Bryant. 70% of our people live and work in Conway. You talk to the mayor of Cabot, he will tell you that his economy is rooftops and retail, and that's not Conway. We've got 3 institutions of higher education. We've got large IT, technology-related employers, and outstanding school system, et cetera. And so we spent about 9 months just talking to entrepreneurs, folks like Jeff and Mike who are in the entrepreneurship movement. And we heard over and over and over that entrepreneurs needed access to 3 things. They needed access to mentors and coaches and expertise. They needed access to a network of other entrepreneurs with whom they could interact, bounce ideas, and share resources, programming, events, and so an ecosystem. And then finally, they needed access to capital. And we didn't really know how to solve any of those things. And so in late 2014, I believe it was, UCA, actually it was early 2015 because we had another summit meeting in late 2014 where we framed up some initiatives that we wanted to focus on, and one of them was talent development and ecosystem building. One of them was working directly with UCA around entrepreneurial acceleration. Dr. Runge's here as part of that discussion. And then the other one was finding or creating access to capital. And I didn't know how to solve any of those, but I knew a little bit about money and I knew a little bit about financing. And so we decided that our first step would be to start Capital. So in March of 2015, I announced to the Conway Chamber of Commerce annual meeting, 1,000 people in the room, that we were going to launch Capital. Back to results, no matter what the situation, circumstances, or pressure. If you want to hold yourself accountable, they say go tell someone, go tell 1,000 people if you're going to do something, and you'll figure out how to do it. And so we did that. We started raising money in June. We started making investments in August. We closed out our investment round in December of 15. We have 61 investors, raised about $1.5 million, and so far today we've funded investments in 15 companies, and we have one pending investment left in a company that we're waiting on to hit certain thresholds. So it was really to try to continue to build out the ecosystem by elevating the investment acumen in our community and to try to stimulate more startup activity.
So can you talk a little bit about the conductor, why you're talking about Axiom and what you think you do the conductor?
Okay? Trying to think of which direction I want to go to talk about that. So if I piggyback on where we were going, so the meeting that Jeff and was in, Mike was in, others were in, Dr. Runge in late 14, resulted in a contract with UCA and Startup Junkie to assess these assets, which I spoke a few moments ago, and to look at how we might marshal those assets into an ecosystem as I previously described. And so that was running in parallel with Cabot Creek Capital. And then in early 2016, those recommendations were made to UCA. And in August, and those recommendations are what you now know as the conductor, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a few moments. But those recommendations came out of that study with Startup Junkie and Community Venture Foundation and UCA to create an ecosystem of programming, events, one-on-one consulting, academic and entrepreneurial support within the university, commercialization support, both inside and outside the university, and what have you. As all of that was happening, I was reaching a point in my own life where I was asking what the next step in my career is. I've made a few pivots in my life. And I've always said that everybody has a calling. Everyone has a calling. They have a reason for being placed on this earth. And I've always told my kids, if you can figure out what that is and you can find a way to get paid for it, then you'll never have to work a day in your life, because you'll always be getting paid for something that you love to do. And for some people, their calling is their vocation. So I have no doubt when Laura was a nurse practitioner, that was her calling. Pastors, teachers, counselors, others, their calling is their vocation. It just so happens to be what they were created here to do, and they make their living doing that as well. For other folks, I put myself in that category, my vocation has supported my calling over the years. And Axiom has been a fantastic platform for which I can fulfill that calling. And it is still a good platform, but I began about 9 months ago thinking about and talking with Lori about, is there another platform to do that? And it just so happened, Cabot Creek Capital was running full guns. I was engaged in this initiative and decided that there was a better platform for me to do that. And it wasn't going into a 9-to-5 job every day. It was going out and doing my own thing, working with partners, and this conductor idea came to fruition, and so I'm spending a large amount of my time there. I have made some investments over the years in some other Main Street businesses that I'm involved in as well. And it has to do with calling and where I felt the best platform was for fulfillment of that.
Can you talk about your ties to Conway? Why does this matter for Conway? Why are you doing it in Conway?
Conway changed my family tree. UCA changed my family tree. And what I mean by that is I'm a first-generation college student. And as I said, a 4-year degree in 5.5 years, I was technically Probably shouldn't have gone straight to a four-year institution, probably should have gone to a two-year school, and then maybe matriculated to a four-year institution after proving myself, but I didn't. Just pig-headed discipline and perseverance, I was able to get through college. But in doing so, it changed my life. It changed my family tree. There was no question that both of my daughters were going to go to school, to go to university, and there's really no question that they will continue to graduate school. My older daughter is an RN in the same neonatal intensive care unit where Lori and I met, and she's already looking at becoming a nurse practitioner like her mother was. Younger daughter's in her senior year at U of A, nursing, works in the same unit that her sister does, and but Conway is a very, very special place to me because it literally transformed our family. Conway Public Schools, Conway First United Methodist Church, the KLIF organization that we've been involved in, I see the Scots back there, just other organizations, the Conway Chamber of Commerce, Conway Development Corporation, the United Way Board, just all of those things that I found myself involved in over the years has transformed our family and me as an individual, me as a human, and this is important to Conway. It's important because Conway has been on the leading edge of a lot of things, and I've never seen a community where there's more aligned leadership than what we have in Conway. And, it's been 45 years since the last Axiom was created in Conway. That's way too long. That's way too long. We should have had innumerable spin-offs from Axiom Corporation, and we're just now starting to see some of those. Just now, in the last 2 years, 3 years. Not that, and part of it was because Axiom did a great job of paying and retaining employees. And when we struggled with that, we started to see people spin off and create companies. Matopa is an example, that's not an Axiom spin-off, but there are a number of Axiom people there, Privacy Star, Anuvo. We can do a better job of inspiring, aspiring entrepreneurs to start companies, but not just inspiring them to do it, building the infrastructure around them so that when they do it, they have a reasonable chance of success.
So how can this change Central Arkansas?
Well, I was sharing with the Rotary Club today, WPP is the largest agency holding company in the world, marketing advertising agency holding company. 137 agencies in virtually every country around the world. They were my client at Axiom. It took me years to sign that contract with them. And I think they're over $20 billion of annual revenue. And they acquired Rockfish Interactive in Fayetteville, and wealth was created in that community around that acquisition, a degree of wealth. Simply Measured acquired DataRank, and a degree of wealth, another notch of wealth was created around that acquisition. John James, who spoke at the Chamber banquet last year or year before, created Acumen Brands and raised $104 million, $83 million from General Atlantic, and a degree of wealth was created in that community. When you create wealth in a community, when you create a startup that is successful, you create jobs. Those jobs pay more, increase the tax base. That improves the quality of life and the quality of living. And what we're trying to create here is a quality of place where people want to come and live. Startups do that, and scale-ups do that. Companies that grow do that. And I think it's important for our future.
Definitely. So can you talk, I know we've talked about this a lot, but you're passionate about education, career education. Why does that matter for the state? How are you involved with that?
Yeah, so careful what you say and to whom you say it, because it'll give you a political point. I think it was when Governor Hutchinson was campaigning. He was here in Conway, and we were talking about educational issues, and I said to him at that time that I felt like we had a branding problem in the state of Arkansas. Every mom and dad believes that every child should go to a four-year institution straight out of high school. And the fact of the matter is, not every child needs to go straight out of high school. In fact, the movement outside the U.S. is a gap year, where you go and travel, and you understand the world, and you work your way from coffee shop to coffee shop, or in other jobs, trying to figure out what life is about, and learning how to live in a world that's multicultural. There was a study that was done in 2008 in in Arkansas, Governor Peavy commissioned the Governor's Blue Ribbon Report on higher education, remediation, retention, and graduation rates. I think that was the name of it, something like that. And it said if you take 100 randomly sampled ninth graders in the state of Arkansas, and the reason it resonated with me was because my younger daughter, Anna, our younger daughter, was an 8th grader at the time. So if you take 100 randomly sampled ninth graders in the state of Arkansas, 76 of them will actually graduate high school, which means 24 will. Of those 76 that graduate, 68% will go to college, but only 16 will graduate with a 2-year degree in 6 years or more. We don't have a going to college problem. We've got a staying in college problem. We've got a finishing college problem. Meanwhile, we have 60,000 skilled jobs in the state of Arkansas that we can't fill because nobody wants to fill them. And they pay $40,000 and $50,000 and $60,000 a year. And it's everything from 2-year certificate level medical professionals, technicians, to welders and HVAC specialists and CNC operators and advanced manufacturing specialists and what have you. So when I laid that out and said that to the governor about the branding problem, about 6 months after he was elected, I got a call from Randy Zook, the president of the State Chamber of Commerce, and he said, the governor's going to call and appoint you to the Career Education and Workforce Development Board. Will you take it? So that's why I said, be careful what you say. So I serve on a newly created board called the Career Education and Workforce Development Board, and our role is to try to solve the chasm, or to bridge the chasm that exists between high schools and 2-year schools and 2-year schools and 4-year schools, and to solve some of the talent management issues that we have for even some of the career education. And I think that can be done for entrepreneurship. That ought to be part of the conversation as well. There are career paths to entrepreneurship that we should be teaching our kids in junior high and high school. And one of those career paths could be go get a 4-year degree in innovation and entrepreneurship, which UCA can readily supply. One of those paths can be go get a degree in the area that you are passionate about and minor in innovation and entrepreneurship, and then there are multiple other variants of that as well.
Okay. So I have a couple more questions before we open it up for Q&A, so y'all can think about what you want to ask Jeff. But first thing, you're clearly really involved and have been for a long time with the city and your career and everything. Can you talk about your work-life balance and how do you strike that? And I will have Lori hold me accountable for this. Early in our marriage, she would say, not even middle, we've been married 26 years or so. Yeah, 26 and a half. And she would say, why are you always working? You've always got your laptop open. And it took a long time for us to come to the understanding that this is what I love to do. Whether it's serving on the chamber, I don't play golf. I don't play golf. I'm not a fisherman. I hunt a little bit. But I generally just go out and sit on a deer stand and let the world come alive around me. But that is probably the only outdoor hobby I have, other than we go to the lake. We are on a boat, we go skiing, we go hang out with our kids. My favorite thing to do is hang out with my kids and my wife. And so, don't get me in trouble. My wife and kids, I just didn't say it all in one complete sentence without a breath. And so, entrepreneurship and investing and being involved in the businesses that I've invested in over the years, whether it's real estate, or it's an insurance agency that I'm part of, or it's an automotive center that I'm part of, or it's a startup that I've invested in, those are my hobbies. But Lori will tell you that when I go up to the lake, that she can watch the blood pressure, almost physically watch the blood pressure come down, and I turn it off. And I'm very big on creating mechanisms around me, and I'd ask Glenn to hold me accountable for that. Glenn Crockett's around here somewhere, because Glenn and I worked together for the last several years, where you create mechanisms around you where you remind yourself Thursday. Don't schedule afternoon meetings on Friday. Take some time and go recharge, go plug in. When I was on vacation years ago, Cindy Childers asked me one of my very first jobs of managing people, and she said,
came back from vacation, and she said, I was 28 or so, and she goes, how was your vacation? I said, oh man, it was great. She said, how many times did you check in while you're gone? I said, every day. And she goes, So let me ask you this. What kind of message do you think that sent to your people? Maybe that you didn't trust them, you didn't think they could get the job done without you. And I was like, I just said what I thought I was supposed to say. And she said, next time I want you to go on vacation, and I want you to get everything delegated, because I want you to turn it off, and I don't want you to turn it back on until you get back. And so I did that, and then the year after that, we went on an 18-day mission trip to Kosovo as a family, Lori, the girls and I, where I had no internet access, I had no phone access, and I couldn't have done that had I not taken her advice 2 years prior. And so now when I go on vacation, and what I've done the last several years is the day before I physically leave, I'm out of the office. I'm out. I might check in and ramp down with some emails, but I don't take meetings, I don't take calls. The day I get back, I'm out of the office. So I have a ramp down and I have a ramp up. And so my vacation is really, I'm only going 7 days or so, but I'm really out for 8 or 9. And that's just crutches that I've built around myself to drive where my thoughts. Is that fair?
All right, so I have a follow-up question to that then. Can you tell us who Lloyd Ray Pittman is?
Lloyd Ray Pittman is a guy that I met about 35 years ago, about 31 years ago. You can go to YouTube and you can check out A Christmas Story from Pike County, and you'll be introduced to Lloyd Ray Pittman. He's a man that I met, and he's an interesting character. He looks a lot like me. You know, they say that you begin to look like the people you hang around most. He and I spend a little time together. And no, he's a character that I developed. When you're a paramedic and you're sitting around in a paramedic lounge waiting for someone to just meet with misfortune, that's what you're paid to do. You sit around, then you find ways to entertain yourself. And so I have a number of characters, and Lloyd Ray Pittman. So he's got some accolades. He launched a write-in candidacy for president this year when the choices were so bad that he didn't feel like he had a choice. And so you can go look at Christmas Story from Pike County.
I looked at the Facebook page. You guys should look at the Facebook page.
That's right. He access on Facebook too. Facebook.com, Lloyd Ray Pittman. So that's LLOYD, RAYPI, double T.
All right, we're going to open up for questions. So if you guys have one, raise your hand and we'll bring you a microphone.
Yes, sir.
Used to work at Axie. That's why that's actually I'm here a long time ago now. My wife here. Entrepreneurship startup is sold today to younger populations as Disney World. Like, oh my God, you gotta go to Disney World. That's got everything. And then it's like showing up and it's expensive and it's painful and the lines are long and it's like everybody else is there. There's certain times to go. And so what can you do now that you're in this community with so many colleges and so many up and coming entrepreneurs? What can you do to alleviate, yes, the story of Walt Disney and entrepreneurship is there, but we got to be a better educator to that. You talked about some of the programs that would introduce to those entrepreneurs how to get to that point, like and still continue that story, that life of educating that you're going to do with out there. How can you do that?
So there are academic ways to do that, right? And then there are extra academic ways. And so we're working directly with UCA to do both. Kim and I have a meeting every Thursday afternoon with Dean Hargis, Ron Duggins, and Dan Fisher in the College of Business and the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Program. We're beginning to have conversations across the colleges as well. Dr. Runge was kind enough to bring us into his meeting of all the deans of the different colleges and the associate provosts to talk about the conductor, and now they're starting to bring us in to talk to them and their faculty about what is innovation, what is entrepreneurship, how can we begin to stimulate that within the respective disciplines, because it's not just a computer science and a college of business thing. In most schools, that's where it tends to reside. And so we want to drive multi-generational, multidisciplinary, cross-campus collaboration. And when I say multi-generational, I don't just mean students at multiple generations, faculty and students, faculty and community members, students and community members, et cetera, such that real solutions, well-rounded solutions to problems, but then we all are developed. But then we want to give them a process, right? Whether it's a design thinking process, or it's a lean canvas process, or it's a customer discovery process, we want to give them tools and process to keep them from getting off track, and then wrap that around with coaching and mentoring and one-on-one consulting and what have you. Last night we had in this room about 28 people, business owners, business executives, folks who have specific areas of expertise that have raised their hand and said, I want to be a mentor in the ecosystem. I've never started a company, but if you've got this particular issue, I want to help you. And so we're going to be not only leveraging those folks to mentor, we're going to be doing it in a group fashion, group mentoring, so that there's structure and process around it, and so that we are kind of shoring up, if you will, those entrepreneurs with a network of people to whom they can seek support. Does that help?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's no silver bullet. There's a magazine of bullets, and we got to figure out how to aim and fire them correctly, because we're a limited number of people, right? And we want to expand our reach as well.
Can you talk about the pros and cons of slow growth versus accelerated investment growth? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there are two different schools of thought.
Yeah, so two different avenues. In fact, Jeff and I were just in a conversation this afternoon with an entrepreneur talking about, okay, here's my organic growth plan, and this is what I can do if I don't take any outside investment dollars. And it's it's one of those. It's a slow, multi-year, flat trajectory. It's got its value. And then there's, but if I had investment dollars, here's the inflection point at which a hockey stick. It's got its value as well. It really comes down, in my mind, and I would invite any of the others who've been involved in the investment game or the entrepreneurship game as well to weigh in, but it really boils down to what you as an entrepreneur want to do. Are you building a lifestyle business that's going to pay your bills and you really don't see yourself exiting it until you're of exit age, whatever that may be, but you're just going to build yourself a nice lifestyle business? Or are you really looking to grow this thing as rapidly as possible and then perhaps exit it at a high multiple and go and do something different? One of those, you almost have to take investment dollars, not always, but in one of those, unless you've got a really cool business model that's going to fund that growth, you're going to probably take investment dollars to do that. What we see a lot of times is entrepreneurs take those investment dollars to create that hockey stick, and it doesn't create the hockey stick like they thought because they got distracted, or maybe their customer development didn't pan out like they thought it should, or whatever the outcome was, or the reason was, and they take on those dollars, and now they have board members, and they have people weighing in on their business, and they have people to whom they have to exercise the definition of leadership, no matter what the external situation, circumstances, or pressures, right? And so it really boils down to what are you trying to achieve as an entrepreneur, and is outside capital, as much as it can be enticing, is it the right way for you to go? There's an entrepreneur up in Northwest Arkansas who started his software company with $2,000, banking software. $2,000, and he's built $1 million company today, and has not taken on. He owns 100% of the company. He has no board members. He's taken no investment, and he's really struggling with the question: if I'm really going to grow this thing to the degree that I want to grow it, I really need to take on investment dollars. And I know Mike, you've done some work with him and helped him think about what that looks like, and I've spent a lot of time with him as well. And he's to the point now where he says, yeah, you know what? For the next 18 months, if I'm going to really grow this company, I need to get some investment dollars. And he started out with $1 million. Now he's saying, I think I can do it for $500,000. So now he's kind of backing down and saying, I only want to take what I really think I need. And so he's going through that process at a time. And it really comes down to that internal struggle, if you will. Does that help?
Any questions?
I got more questions, but I don't know. On the floor.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Okay, another question I have is, so you've been involved in hiring, you've been teaching people to hire. As a experienced, you know, and there's that struggle. So, yeah, talk about hiring like the newbie from high school or college who just wants experience and you want to grow them up versus hiring an expert. What's best for the newbie?
So, first of all, I have a few rules about hiring, and there are a couple of them. One is hire slow and fire fast. Take your time. Don't. And then the second one that's kind of a corollary to that is don't ever hire anybody you can't fire, because you will have to fire someone if you take employees. And I made the mistake of doing that one time. I hired someone that I couldn't fire, and I didn't fire him. I moved him around, and he was older than I. By the way, he watched me grow up.
Yeah.
Literally, he was in the Army with me when I was 17 and watched me grow up, and when I got to be about 35 or so, I hired him. So I'd known him for a long time, and I couldn't fire him. He was not performing, and I couldn't fire him, and I moved him around trying to salvage him because he was a mentor to me. And I ended up moving to London, England. We moved to London, England, and I left someone else to deal with him, and they fired him. And we haven't spoken much since then. He passed away about 2 years ago. So it's a morbid story, but it's poignant because don't hire someone that you can't fire, because you will have to at some point in your career. And hire slow, and make sure you hire for fit. Skills are thresholds. You can teach them skills. Even Jack Welch, who was one of the perceived to be sometimes the harshest of employers, would say, if it's a skill issue, move them around because they're just not in the right job, or you haven't trained them well. If it's a cultural mismatch, fire them, because you're never going to teach them culture. You're never going to teach them goodness of fit. So interview for a threshold of skills, and then interview for values and cultural fit and personality match, and do they fit with the team, because that will lessen or reduce the number of times, or at least the frequency with which you have to fire somebody.
Other questions? I have a follow-up to that too. Can you talk about your experience with travel? I know you moved your entire family to London. Talk about what travel has meant to you.
Yeah, so if you would have asked, if you had asked me after I had my family, well, if you had asked me when I started Accent 18 and a half years ago, that at the end of an 18 and a half year career, I would not only circumnavigate the world, I don't know, 7 or 8 times, that I would start companies in Poland and China and run companies in the Middle East and Brazil, but told me that I would also have lived abroad with my family. I was crazy. I mean, 80% of the people in the U.S. don't even own a passport, and I didn't own a passport. I had to buy one to go on what I thought was going to be a 10-day assessment of a company that we were acquiring that had 21 locations across Europe. And when I got there, it ended up being an 8-week assignment. But while I was there, I was negotiating with Lori and the girls to move there. But it has been probably the most enriching experience that I've ever had. A small town boy from Glenwood, Arkansas, doesn't get to go to places like Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, or Dubai, or Warsaw, or Gdansk, or a multitude of other places. Much less get the opportunity to live and work among people who really are just like us. And so it's been a very perspective broadening experience, but also a development experience as well. So it's been good.
Good. All right.
Oh my.
So Axion, you were there 18 years, so you had several leaders of the company in that 18 years, right? So, and you have to be politically correct how you answer this problem.
Why? Charles never was.
Okay, so let's go. How did you see the company change? Where do you think it's going now relative to where it's been? What's it mean for Arkansas? Some of that.
Sure. So I started in Axiom in May, February consulting, but then in May of 1998, full-time. And the headquarters was still in Conway at that time, and in early 1999, they moved the headquarters to Little Rock. And as you all know, that was a huge shock to Conway, that we were losing the headquarters. It really didn't affect things a great deal because a large base of operations was still here. So I worked directly with Charles and Cindy and Jim and Roger, the senior lead, Alex Dietz, and those guys. I worked directly with them for the first 10 years of my career there. And I mean, it's the real deal, in terms of culture, in terms of leadership, in terms of vision. You know, Charles is the penultimate visionary technologist, and he knew precisely where he was taking the company, even if he might have been 5 years ahead of the market at that time. When the private equity deal cratered in 2008, we were about to be acquired for $27.10 a share by a combination of investors and private equity firms, and we missed a quarter back to deliver results no matter what the external situation or pressure. Because we missed a quarter, the banks pulled out, the investment firms paid a $20 million breakup fee, the deal didn't happen, the stock goes from $28 a share to $6 a share. Charles is fired, Jim's fired, and they're all ousted from the board, right? And we have a new CEO coming in. So that is an example of one of the consequences of delivering results no matter what, because people's lives are affected. I think I'm going where you want to go here, but culturally, it's probably the most enriching place to ever work because it taught me about working at Acme. We went through a period after that where we had a turnaround guy with whom I'm still good friends, John, and Sean. John Meyer, John Adams, and Sean Donovan. Those are the top three. And they were the right amount of discipline at the right time, even though they were a shock to the cultural system of Acme because they were turnaround guys, and turnaround guys aren't concerned with the people aspect as much. And I would tell that to John Meyer today. But they did the right things at the right time in terms of the business performance to get us back on track, and then Scott came in about 5 years ago. And we've had a couple of missteps with Scott, but you know, again, anticipating the market a little before the market was ready to be anticipated perhaps. But I think we are on the right track. And I keep saying we, 18 and a half years, it's hard to not say we. I think we're on the right track. You know, Axiom is, I mean, the fact of the matter is, with set-top TV boxes, the day is not far from the day where you and I are sitting in houses beside one another, and because we might be at different life stages, you're getting different commercials than I, but we're watching the same TV program. Because the ability to target exists, and Axiom propels that ability. Axiom powers that ability. Or same thing online, be it online, TV, what have you. I think it's even possible with print advertising today because of the ability of digital printing to be able to, well, if you got a digital press that can print a book in 8 seconds, then why couldn't you print a magazine? You get Newsweek and I get Newsweek, and we have different ads because of the precision targeting that can occur there. So Axiom's absolutely on, I believe, on the right track. I think it is a very important part of Conway's economy. In fact, at one time, we were about 10% of the economy in Conway when you look at payroll and payroll taxes and spending and what have you. And my objective is that Conway becomes one of the flagship participants in this ecosystem we're trying to build as well. So, stay tuned.
I'm more interested in the leadership. So you've obviously studied leadership, been in positions of leadership. And you know, undoubtedly when you're in that position, not everything always turns out the way you want it to. So when people aren't performing, when things are looking bad, as a leader, what are your words of wisdom, I guess, for those leaders in those times?
There is no skill as a leader. There is no relationship skill as a leader any more important than being able to give someone constructive feedback. It's not taught. I don't think it's innate. I think I had a situation when I was a young leader at Axiom, and I was leading a small team. Another lady was leading a small team. We were peers. We reported to the same person. We were competing for a job over both, but didn't really know it. She was more educated or more skilled, more experienced in the corporate world than I. I had 6 months under my belt in the corporate world. But for some reason, my boss hired me selected me as that leader. So overnight, I went from being a peer to her to being her leader and the leader of everyone under us. And about 3 months in, she came into my office. And she knocked on the door. Knock on. She said, and I have my back to her, so I'm typing away. She knocks on the door and she says, excuse me, do you have a moment? I said, sure, come on in, sit down. Come on in. I'm a results guy, right? And she said, she just sat there, she didn't say a word. So I turned around and looked at her and focused on her. And she said, may I give you some feedback? And I said, absolutely, please do. She said, I would like to share with you what I'm observing. I'd like to tell you how it makes me feel, perhaps the business impact, and then I'd like to give you a chance to respond. Okay? She said, when I come in here on a weekly basis to do our regular touch base, I always had weekly touch bases with all of my direct reports. She said, when I come in here on a weekly basis, and I sit down to share with you what's going on, updates on my projects, updates on what everything that's going on, she said, I begin to observe a tilting of the head, and then I begin to sense a glazing over of the eyes, and then I see a frequent checking of the watch. It makes me feel like my job's not important. It makes me feel like I'm not a valued member of the team. It makes me feel like I want to go work somewhere else. Now you can respond. So I've thought about that, and I don't talk about leadership without talking about the skill of giving constructive feedback. And I've broken down in my head what she's done, and I call it feedback without fallout. Right? She could have walked in and said, you don't trust me, you don't respect me, you don't do this, you don't do that, and I would say, whoa, 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 back up, sis, right? And we would have gotten into an altercation, a verbal one. But she didn't do that, right? So she came in, and she, first of all, asked permission. So if I had started rebutting in the middle of her feedback, she would have said, well, no, wait a minute, you gave me permission to give you feedback. She laid out an agenda. I would like to share with you what I'm observing. I'd like to tell you how it makes me feel and perhaps the business impact, and then I'd like to give you a chance to respond. So she laid out the agenda, got my agreement to the agenda. Then she owned her feelings. I observed this. I see this. I begin to notice that. She didn't say you at all. So I always tell people, say I 3 times more than you say you. She owned her feelings. She didn't say, you know, there are a lot of people on the team that feel like that you're not really interested in the work they're doing. When I have people say that to me today, I say, well, tell a lot of people to come see me because I want to hear what you feel. So she didn't do that. She owned her feelings. She shared with me how they made her feel, what she was observing, how it made her feel, the business impact makes me want to go look for a job somewhere else. And then she shut up. And it changed my life. And I mean that. She changed my leadership life. And so learning that skill, first of all, not taking for granted that an associate or an employee knows what's expected. Clearly articulating what is expected. Now, she was coaching up, right? The same thing can be used to coach down or sideways. But articulating what is required, these are the expectations, and giving them the freedom to operate within that, and then being willing to coach when coaching, or giving constructive feedback when constructive feedback needs to be given. And then having a process to do it that doesn't drive a wedge right back to results in relationships. That would be my best recommendation.
Any other questions? All right, so I have one more to close it out. So if you could leave us with one piece of business advice, what would it be?
One piece of business advice would be that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And if you think about that for a moment, this may sound a bit conflicting. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And what I mean by that is failure is only failure if you stop. If you meet with failure and it causes you to stop, then okay, then technically it's failure. But if you take it on board as feedback and pivot and readjust and go back at it in a different way, it really wasn't failure at all. They say that the best startups have learned to fail and fail faster and faster. Or the story about Thomas Edison. They say he failed 10,000 times with the incandescent bulb, and he says, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I now know 10,000 ways it won't work, right? So failure is only failure if you stop. Otherwise, you just get back. That's the best advice I can give. And I think it was Churchill who said, you know, don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Good. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Coming out tonight. So this is Startup Grind. We're going to have it every single month, probably in here. Thanks to Jeff for being our guest tonight. Thanks to our sponsors, obviously UCA Startup Jungle Consulting, and then kombucha by the Naked Hippie Brew. We have cheese dip and tea from Stobie's. Thank you so much for everyone for coming out. And also, so this is funny, so when I got this charter in Arkansas like a year ago, I had Jeff's name at the top of the list for people to invite. I hadn't even known him at that time, so it's really crazy that now we're sitting side by side as colleagues, but it's really an honor to sit next to you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I have to say, and the honor is mine. Those of you who've been involved in the ecosystem for a while know that Kim has been the director of programming at the Arkansas Innovation Hub. And we are absolutely blessed to have her here as the Chief Operating Officer of the Conductor. I mean, she has hit the ground running. There's nothing this woman can't do. And so the honor is mine.